The February rain came down in sheets, turning the cemetery paths to mud and the fresh grave into a dark wound in the earth. Sarah Mitchell stood at the edge, her black coat soaked through, watching as they lowered Teresa Young's casket into the ground. The mahogany gleamed wetly under the funeral tent, and Sarah thought absurdly that Teresa would have hated getting wet. 10 years. Sarah had spent 10 years caring for this woman, from the first stroke that left Teresa's right side paralyzed to the final breath 3 days ago in the hospice bed downstairs. 10 years of waking every 3 hours to turn her. 10 years of pureed food and feeding tubes. 10 years of doctor's appointments and late-night crises when Teresa's oxygen levels dropped and panic filled those still sharp blue eyes. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. The minister's words blurred with the rain. Sarah felt Patrick's presence beside her, her husband of 25 years standing rigid under his umbrella, dry while she dripped. He hadn't offered to share it. Across the grave, their son Michael stood with his aunt Amanda, Patrick's younger sister. Amanda wore enormous sunglasses despite the gloom, designer black that probably cost more than Sarah's entire outfit. Sarah's eyes drifted to a man standing apart from the family, a stranger in an expensive gray suit. He'd been at the funeral too, sitting in the back. She'd noticed him whispering with Patrick and Amanda during the service, but Sarah had never seen him before. Something twisted in her stomach, not grief. She'd cried all her tears at Teresa's bedside. This was something else, something like dread. She remembered Teresa's last lucid moment 3 days before the end. The morphine haze had lifted briefly, and those blue eyes had found Sarah's face with startling clarity. "Sarah," she'd whispered, "my children don't know everything about me. They think they do, but they don't." "Don't tire yourself," Sarah had murmured, smoothing the thin white hair back. "No. Listen, my children are not who I thought they were. I see that now." Teresa had fumbled under her pillow, pulling out a manila envelope. "Don't open this until after I'm gone. Promise me, Sarah." Sarah had promised. The envelope was in her purse now, still sealed. The casket reached the bottom. The funeral director gestured for family to approach with roses. Patrick stepped forward first, expressionless. Amanda followed, dabbing at her eyes, though her makeup remained perfect. Michael went last, his young face crumpling. Sarah waited. She wasn't technically family, was she? Just the daughter-in-law, just the caregiver, just the woman who'd held Teresa's hand through every moment of terror while her actual children checked their phones. "Mrs. Mitchell?" The funeral director offered her a rose. She took it, stepped forward, and let it fall. It landed with a wet thud. "Goodbye, Teresa," she whispered. "I hope I did right by you." When she turned back, Patrick was already walking toward the parking lot. Amanda and Michael followed. The man in the gray suit trailed behind, phone already out. Sarah stood alone by the grave, rain streaming down her face. She pulled her coat tighter and headed for her car. The black pumps had been Teresa's actually, bought 50 years ago, preserved carefully. Teresa's feet had shrunk with age and illness, and they'd fit Sarah perfectly. Now they just felt like someone else's shoes, someone else's life. Sarah pulled into the driveway at 4:17 p.m. The house looked wrong. Too many cars. Patrick's SUV, Amanda's white Mercedes, Michael's beat-up Honda, and another car she didn't recognize. She sat for a moment, engine running. Through the living room window, she could see shapes moving. People in her house. Our house, she corrected herself. 25 years of marriage, though Teresa had owned it originally, hadn't she? The living room fell silent when she entered. Patrick sat in Teresa's chair, the good chair by the window, the one she'd sat in every morning before the strokes. Patrick had never sat there before. Not once in 10 years. It had always been Teresa's chair. Michael was on the couch, hunched forward, unable to meet her eyes. Amanda perched beside him, sunglasses finally off, revealing red-rimmed eyes that looked more angry than sad. And the man from the cemetery sat in the armchair, briefcase open on his lap. "Can I at least take off my coat?" Sarah heard herself say. "This won't take long," Amanda said, crisp, businesslike. Sarah hung her coat on the rack by the door, the one Teresa bought at an estate sale in 1987. The only seat left was the ottoman. Sarah sat. Amanda pulled a folder from her designer bag. I found Mom's will. It was in her bedroom, in the drawer with her medications. Sarah's chest tightened. She'd organized those drawers last week, searching for morphine. There had been no will. Mom made some decisions about her estate, Amanda continued. The house goes to Patrick, as her son and co-owner of the property. Co-owner? Sarah's voice cracked. Patrick visited her 6 times in the last year. The house was never solely in Mom's name, Amanda said louder. Patrick and Mom were co-owners. Sarah tried to remember the paperwork from 15 years ago. Had there been 2 names on the deed? Along with the house, Amanda said, Patrick inherits Mom's savings, approximately $480,000. The room tilted. Sarah gripped the ottoman. $480,000. Teresa had never mentioned that kind of money. They'd lived carefully, stretching Social Security. Sarah had paid for medications out of her own pocket when insurance wouldn't cover them. Michael receives $50,000, Amanda continued. I receive $75,000 for helping manage Mom's affairs and coordinating her care. Sarah almost laughed. Amanda had coordinated nothing except twice yearly visits timed for Instagram photos. And for you, Sarah, Amanda looked up. Mom left you $5,000 for your service. Service. 10 years of service. 10 years of waking every 3 hours. 10 years of bathing and feeding and comforting. 10 years of holding Teresa's hand while she cried in pain and confusion. $5,000. That's not possible, Sarah said quietly. Teresa told me the house would be mine. She said it was only fair. Mom was on a lot of medication, Patrick said from Teresa's chair. She wasn't always clear. She thought I was Dad sometimes. She wasn't in her right mind. She was clear, Sarah insisted. Very clear about this. There's nothing about you inheriting the house and the will, Amanda interrupted, holding up the document. It's all here. The will was executed 2 years ago, properly witnessed and notarized. The man in the gray suit spoke. Mrs. Mitchell, I'm David Hartwell, an attorney and friend of Patrick's. I've been asked to witness this reading and inform you of the legal requirements. He paused. You have 48 hours to vacate the premises. After that, we'll file for eviction. 48 hours. Sarah looked at her son. Michael. He flinched. Dad says this is what Grandma wanted, he mumbled. We have to respect her wishes. Your father didn't visit her for 6 months before she died. Sarah's voice was steady now. Neither did your aunt. Where were you all when she was crying at 3 a.m? Where were you when she couldn't remember her own name? Sarah, Patrick stood. This is what my mother wanted. You'll get your $5,000. Michael is staying here with us. You need to pack your things and leave. Us. Like Amanda and Michael were the family now, and Sarah was the outsider. The hired help. 48 hours, David Hartwell said again. Sarah stood slowly. She'd learned something in 10 years of nursing. You can't fight every battle when it happens. Sometimes you have to wait, assess, plan. I understand, she said. They looked surprised. Maybe they'd expected screaming, tears. She walked upstairs to the bedroom she'd shared with Patrick for 25 years. The bedroom where she'd lain awake listening through the baby monitor, ready to run to Teresa's room. She pulled her suitcase from the closet and began to pack. She'd been the responsible one her whole life, the one who married young and made it work, the one who'd put her nursing career on hold, 15 years of training gone, because Patrick said his mother needed family care, not strangers. Sarah packed her old scrubs, unworn for a decade. She packed the jewelry box Teresa had given her. She packed the photo albums Patrick wanted to throw away. And she packed the envelope. She heard them leave downstairs, doors closing, cars starting, all except Patrick's SUV. Sarah looked around the bedroom. 25 years of marriage, 10 years of caregiving, 62 years of life, worth $5,000. She picked up her suitcase, walked downstairs past Patrick in the kitchen, pouring himself expensive scotch, and walked out the door. The Super 8 on Route 9 smelled like cigarettes and industrial cleaner. $49 a night meant Sarah's $5,000 would last about 3 months if she was careful, if she ate at Dollar General, if she didn't get sick. The heater rattled, barely warming the room. Sarah sat on the thin mattress and stared at the envelope. 3 days since Teresa died. She'd kept her promise. Now in this cheap motel room, she broke the seal. Inside was a key on a metal tag. First National Bank, safety deposit box 247, and a note in Teresa's shaky handwriting. Sarah, I know my children. I know what they're planning. Patrick thinks I don't see his money troubles. Amanda thinks I don't notice she only calls when she needs something. I prepared for this. The real will is in the box. Video recording too. Everything you'll need. Call Bernard Winters at Winters & Associates. His number is in the box. He's expecting you. I'm so sorry you have to deal with this. You deserve so much better. Trust me. Trust the process. With love, Teresa. Sarah read it 3 times. Teresa had known, had planned, had left Sarah a way to fight back. A photograph fell out, a young woman in a nurse's uniform, maybe 25, standing before a hospital, tired but determined. Sarah turned it over, written on back, me, 1965. My first day. I was you once. I gave it up. Don't let them make you give up yours. T. Teresa had been a nurse. Sarah had never known that. I gave it up. For what? For marriage? For children? For a husband who expected dinner on the table? Sarah could stay here. Take the $5,000 and disappear. Start over. She was 62, not dead, or she could call Bernard Winters. She pulled out her phone, 11 p.m., but the note said he was expecting her. He answered on the second ring. Mrs. Mitchell, I've been waiting to hear from you. You knew, Sarah said. You knew what they were going to do. Teresa suspected, Bernard said carefully. She came to see me 8 months ago. She was very clear about her wishes and her concerns. She left me a key to a safety deposit box. Yes. Can you come to my office tomorrow? 10 o'clock? We have a lot to discuss. I'm in a motel. They gave me 48 hours. Long pause. That's not legal, Mrs. Mitchell. Not even close. But we'll address that tomorrow. Bring the key and any documentation of your caregiving. I didn't keep track. I just did what needed to be done. Teresa kept track, Bernard said quietly. She documented everything. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we fight back. He hung up. Sarah sat holding the photograph of young Teresa. I was you once. She'd spent 10 years in a bubble caring for Teresa, insulated from the real world. Patrick handled money. Amanda handled family coordination. Michael lived his own life, and Sarah had shrunk herself to fit the spaces everyone else didn't want. The 3 a.m. wake-ups, the bedpans, the confusion and fear. Not anymore. She set her alarm for 7 a.m. and lay down without changing clothes. Tomorrow, she'd go to the bank. She'd meet Bernard Winters. She'd find out what Teresa had planned. Tonight, she'd sleep. Really sleep. For the first time in 10 years. No monitor beeping, no listening for breathing. It felt like freedom and guilt. It felt like the first day of something she didn't have a name for yet. Bernard Winters' office sat above Romano's Bakery on Main Street. The cinnamon smell followed Sarah up the narrow staircase at 9:55 a.m. She looked presentable in clean clothes from her suitcase. Professional, like someone who deserved to be taken seriously. Bernard's secretary smiled. Mr. Winters is expecting you. Go right in. Bernard Winters looked exactly like his voice, gravelly and kind, with deep lines suggesting he smiled often. He stood, extending his hand. Mrs. Mitchell, thank you for coming. He gestured to a chair. I'm sorry about Teresa. She was remarkable, sharp as a tack until the very end. Sarah pulled out the key. She left me this, and a note saying you'd explain. Bernard took the key. Teresa came to see me last June, 8 months ago. She needed to update her will properly with witnesses and documentation. She said her children were circling. He met Sarah's eyes. Her words. Did she say why? Patrick visited in May, first time in months. Spent 10 minutes with her, an hour in her bedroom going through papers. Looking for financial documents, she assumed. Bernard pulled out a folder. Amanda called that same week asking about estate planning and power of attorney. Sarah remembered that week. Teresa had been agitated, upset. So she made a new will, Sarah said. She made the real will, Bernard corrected. Legal, properly executed, witnessed by myself and 2 colleagues, notarized, filed with the county clerk. He opened the folder. Would you like me to read it? Sarah's hands shook. She folded them in her lap. Yes. Bernard adjusted his glasses. I, Teresa Young, being of sound mind and body. Then the specifics. The house, the 4-bedroom house on Maple Street, went to Sarah, not Patrick. Sarah, $400,000 went to Sarah, not Patrick. Sarah. Patrick received $25,000 with a condition, nothing if he contested the will. Amanda received $25,000, same condition. Michael received $100,000 in a trust fund, accessible at 25, 10 months away. There's a no contest clause, Bernard explained. If anyone challenges this will, they forfeit everything. Legal, and in this case, very wise. Sarah stared. But they showed me a will yesterday. They had a lawyer, David Hartwell. Bernard's expression darkened. David Hartwell was disbarred 5 years ago. Misconduct, falsifying documents. He showed Sarah his laptop screen, David's face on a legal database. He cannot practice law or witness documents. Any will he touched is automatically suspect. So the will they showed me was fake. Most likely, Teresa worried this might happen. That's why she took precautions. Bernard pulled out a USB drive. She recorded a video testament. Would you like to see it? Sarah nodded. Bernard inserted the drive. After a moment, Teresa's face filled the screen. She sat in this same office, wearing the blue cardigan Sarah had given her, hairstyled, makeup done, tired but determined, alive. To whom it may concern, Teresa said, voice stronger than Sarah had heard in months. I am Teresa Young, of sound mind and body, though my body is not what it used to be. A small smile. I'm making this video to ensure my wishes are crystal clear and cannot be manipulated by anyone. She folded her hands, hands that would shake uncontrollably months later, hands Sarah would hold through the worst pain. My son Patrick and daughter Amanda have not been present in my life for many years. They visit on holidays if I'm lucky. They call occasionally. They've made clear that my care is a burden they won't shoulder. Her voice wavered. My daughter-in-law, Sarah Mitchell, has been my sole caregiver for 10 years. She's bathed me, fed me, held my hand through procedures and pain that would break most people. She sacrificed her career, her health, her life to preserve mine. Sarah's vision blurred. Sarah deserves everything I have to give, Teresa continued, looking at the camera. The house should be hers. She's earned it 1,000 times over. The money should be hers. It won't make up for what she's given, but it's what I have. Pause. I'm leaving my children something because I do love them. But if they fight this will, if they try to take from Sarah what she's earned, they'll get nothing. That is my final word. The video ended. Screen went black. Sarah sat in silence. Bernard poured water and slid the glass toward her. There's more, he said gently. Teresa documented everything. Journal of every time Patrick or Amanda failed to visit, every broken promise, every call asking for money without offering time. Testimonies from hospice nurses. Every single one mentions you were the only family member present. He slid a thick folder across. Medical records, care logs, financial records showing you paid for Teresa's medications out of pocket when Patrick claimed insurance wouldn't cover them. Receipts for everything. I didn't keep track, Sarah said. I just did what needed to be done. Teresa kept track, Bernard said. She knew you wouldn't. She knew you'd never fight for yourself, so she fought for you. Sarah looked at the mountain of evidence. 10 years of her life, documented. What happens now? Now, Bernard leaned back, I file the official will with probate court. I send notification to all parties. And I strongly suggest Patrick and Amanda accept their $25,000 each and walk away. And if they don't? If they contest, they lose everything, and... Bernard paused. That fake will. If we prove forgery, that's a crime. Forgery, attempted fraud, potentially elder abuse. These are serious charges, Mrs. Mitchell. Sarah thought about Patrick in Teresa's chair, Amanda's cold voice, Michael unable to look at her. For your service. I need to think, she said. Of course, but Sarah, you don't have to leave the house. That's your home. Legally, as of the moment Teresa died, it became yours. They have no right to evict you. But they said, David Hartwell is not a lawyer. His opinion has no legal weight. If you want, I can draft a letter right now. Sarah stood. Her legs felt steadier. Not yet. I want to go back to the motel. I want to read everything. I want to understand exactly what Teresa did for me. Take your time. Bernard stood. But Sarah, Teresa's last words to me, before she left this office in June, were, make sure Sarah knows she's worth fighting for. Sarah nodded, not trusting her voice. She took the folder, shook Bernard's hand, and walked down the stairs. The cinnamon smell filled the street. Sarah stood on the sidewalk, clutching the folder. Teresa had fought for her, had seen her, really seen her, and decided she was worth more than $5,000, worth more than 48 hours, worth more than being erased. Sarah got in her car and drove back to the Super 8. She had reading to do, decisions to make. But for the first time since the funeral, she felt something besides grief and shock. She felt angry, and anger, she was learning, could be clarifying. Sarah spent 2 days in the motel room reading Teresa's documentation, page after page of evidence, medical charts, receipts, journal entries in increasingly shaky handwriting. March 15th, Sarah stayed up all night when my fever spiked. Patrick called but said he had a work meeting. Amanda didn't call at all. July 3rd, Sarah paid $347 for my medications. She said insurance would reimburse. I checked. They'd already denied the claim. She lied to make me feel better. December 24th, Christmas Eve. Sarah made me special pureed dinner, put on my favorite music. Patrick and Amanda came for an hour, took photos, left. Sarah stayed. She always stays. Entry after entry, a chronicle of absence and presence. On the third morning, Sarah called Bernard Winters. I want to file the real will, and I want to press charges for the forgery. Are you certain? This will get messy. Sarah looked around the dingy motel room, then thought of the house on Maple Street. Her house, earned through 10 years of showing up. Teresa fought for me when she was dying. I'm going to fight for what she wanted. Then we need to build the strongest case possible, Bernard said. I'd like to hire a private investigator, Marcus Webb, to look into Patrick and Amanda's finances. People don't forge wills for fun. There's always a money motive. Use whatever you need from the inheritance. Teresa left that money to fight for the truth. Good. And Sarah, your son Michael, if he witnessed anything, his testimony could be crucial. Michael chose his father's side. Did he? Or did he do what his father told him to do? Bernard's voice was gentle. Talk to him. Young people sometimes just need permission to tell the truth. Sarah texted Michael, coffee tomorrow? 10 a.m. at Romano's, not to fight, just to talk. 20 minutes later, okay, but Dad can't know. But Dad can't know. Her son was already keeping secrets. Michael arrived at Romano's looking over his shoulder, dark circles under his eyes. He'd lost weight. He ordered black coffee and sat across from Sarah, hands wrapped around the cup. I'm not here to ambush you, Sarah said. I just want to understand what happened. Michael stared into his coffee. Dad said Grandma wanted him to have the house, that she told him months ago. Did you hear her say that? Ever? Silence. No, but I didn't visit much. Maybe she said it when I wasn't there. You visited more than your father did. The last 6 months, you came twice a month. Patrick came twice total. Sarah kept her voice steady. When did your father show you the will? The day before the funeral. He had this document on the kitchen table. Aunt Amanda was there. And David. Michael finally looked up. Dad kept saying the family needs to stick together, like you weren't family anymore. Did anything seem strange? Michael was quiet. The signature looked weird. Grandma's hands shook really bad at the end, but this signature was almost steady. I asked about it, and Dad said it was from 2 years ago. He paused. But something felt off. What else? The way Aunt Amanda kept looking at David, like they were worried. And when Dad said you had to leave in 48 hours, Amanda said we need to do this fast before she gets a lawyer. I thought that was weird, like they were afraid of you getting help. Sarah pulled out a folder. Michael, I need to ask, are you willing to tell the truth about what you saw, even if it means going against your father? What did Dad do? That's what I'm trying to find out, but I think you already know some of it. Michael's hands tightened around his cup. I saw Dad and David practicing something. About a month ago, I came by for some old stuff. They were in the dining room, didn't hear me. David had paper and was writing something over and over. Dad was saying, it needs to look shakier. She could barely hold a pen at the end. His voice cracked. When they heard me, they jumped. David covered the paper. Dad asked what I was doing there, real sharp. Did you see what he was writing? No, but now I think, was Dad forging Grandma's signature? Sarah slid the folder across. Your grandmother made a real will 8 months ago, properly witnessed, notarized, filed with the county. This is a copy. Michael opened it with shaking hands. She left you the house, and most of the money. She left me $100,000. He looked up, pale. Dad got $25,000. And Amanda, too, that's it. Only if they don't contest. If they fight it, they get nothing. Your grandmother suspected they'd try something like this. Oh my God, Dad faked the will. Michael's face went white. That's why he wanted you out fast, before you could find the real one. Did you witness anything else? Any conversations about money? Dad's been stressed about money for months. Last Christmas he asked for $10,000 from my savings. Said his business was struggling. I loaned it to him. He never paid me back. Michael paused. At Thanksgiving, I heard Dad and Aunt Amanda arguing in the kitchen. Amanda said, we need that money, Patrick. Both of us. Mom won't live forever. Dad said, I know, but we can't just ask her. She'll want to know why. Financial motive, opportunity, the fake will, Michael's testimony about the forgery practice. Are you willing to tell this to a lawyer? To testify? Michael looked terrified but nodded. Grandma deserves the truth. And you, Mom, you gave up everything for her. I'm sorry I didn't see it before. Your father is good at making people choose sides, but you're 24 now, old enough to choose truth instead of a side. What happens to Dad? That depends on what he does next. If he accepts the real will and walks away, he gets $25,000 and faces no charges. If he fights, Sarah trailed off. Forgery is a felony, Michael. Michael pulled out his phone. I'm going to text you everything I remember. Times, dates, conversations, everything. 4 days later, Marcus Webb sat in Bernard's office with a thick folder. Your husband and his sister are in serious financial trouble, Marcus said. Patrick owes $320,000 to business creditors. His company has been bleeding money for 2 years. He defaulted on a rental property. It's in foreclosure. Sarah felt punched. I didn't know about any rental property. Purchased before your marriage. It's in his name only. Marcus flipped pages. Amanda's worse. She has $150,000 in gambling debts across 3 casinos. Her influencer income dropped 70% last year. She's maxed out 6 credit cards. Gambling debts? Sarah thought of Amanda's perfect Instagram life. The casinos call her daily. But here's where it gets interesting. Marcus slid over email printouts. 6 months ago, Patrick and Amanda started communicating frequently. Before that, they barely talked. Sarah read the first email, dated 8 months ago. Amanda, Mom's not doing well. Doctor says maybe 6 months. We need to talk about the estate. P. Amanda's response, finally, I'll be there Saturday. We need a plan. I'm drowning here. Another email. Talk to David. He says it's doable if we're careful. Mom's too sick to know what she's signing. P. Sarah's hands shook. They planned this months in advance. Yes, premeditation, Bernard said quietly. But here's what makes them human instead of monsters. Marcus pulled out more documents. Patrick worked 90-hour weeks trying to save his business. Amanda's gambling started after her divorce. Depression, trying to fill time, got hooked. These are desperate people who made terrible choices. That doesn't excuse what they did. No, but it explains it. Marcus leaned forward. Listen to this email from Patrick 4 months ago. I hate that we're doing this. Mom took care of us our whole lives. Sarah's been there every day. We're stealing from the one person who deserves it. But if I don't get this money, I lose everything. Sarah closed her eyes. I also interviewed the hospice nurses. Dr. Helen Morrison said Teresa specifically told her about the will situation 2 months before she died. She's willing to testify. Bernard made notes. We have motive, means, opportunity, witness testimony, evidence of forgery practice, a fake will created by a disbarred lawyer. He looked at Sarah. We have enough for the police, but what outcome do you want? Sarah thought about Patrick's email. I hate that we're doing this. I want consequences, but I want to give them a chance first. File the real will. Inform them officially. Give them 72 hours to accept it or face criminal charges. That's generous, Marcus said. It's what Teresa would have wanted. She loved her children despite everything. She wanted them to have something. She just wanted them to earn it by telling the truth. Then that's what we'll do, Bernard said. The official notification arrived Wednesday morning. Michael texted updates. Dad just got a letter from a lawyer. He's losing his mind. And Amanda came over. They're screaming at each other. David Hartwell is here. He looks scared. They want to fight it. Mom, I'm scared. 3 days later, Sarah stood on the porch of the house on Maple Street with Bernard and a locksmith. Patrick had changed the locks. The locksmith drilled them out. This is your property, Bernard said. You have every legal right. The door swung open. Patrick sat in Teresa's chair, Amanda on the couch, David Hartwell in the armchair, Michael on the ottoman. But this time Michael stood up when Sarah entered. Mom, he said, and crossed to stand beside her. Patrick's face went red. Michael, sit down. No, Michael said quietly. I'm done sitting down. Sarah walked into her living room with Bernard beside her and Michael at her shoulder. We need to talk, she said. You manipulated a sick old woman, Amanda spat. You should be ashamed. Interesting, Bernard said mildly. Since Teresa made her will 8 months ago when she was healthy, her doctors testified to her mental capacity. David Hartwell cleared his throat. We can reach an accommodation. Your clients were offered a settlement, Bernard interrupted. $25,000 each. They rejected it by filing a challenge. Under the no contest clause, they now get nothing. He held up his phone showing David's disbarment records. And you're not a lawyer, Mr. Hartwell. Haven't been for 5 years. Any legal opinion you've given is worthless. Actually, it's criminal. David went pale. Patrick stood. This is my mother's house. It's Sarah's house, Michael said, voice shaking but firm. Grandma left it to her. I saw the real will, the one you didn't fake. Silence. Patrick stared at his son. What did you just say? I saw you and David practicing Grandma's signature about a month ago, in the dining room, making him write it over and over, telling him it needed to look shakier. Michael's voice grew stronger. I didn't want to believe it, but then I saw the real will, and I realized what you'd done. I'm testifying against you, Dad. I already gave my statement to the police. Amanda shot to her feet. Patrick, you said no one would know. You said we just had to get through probate and... Shut up, Amanda, Patrick's voice cracked. No, you shut up. This was your idea. You brought in David. You told me Mom was too sick to know what she was signing. Enough. Detective Maria Santos stood in the doorway, badge out. Patrick Young, Amanda Young Foster. I'm Detective Santos. I need to speak with you regarding an investigation into forgery and fraud. David Hartwell bolted for the back door. Two uniformed officers blocked his path. David Hartwell, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud and practicing law without a license. As officers cuffed David, Santos turned to Patrick and Amanda. You two aren't under arrest yet, but get real lawyers immediately. The evidence suggests you knowingly participated in creating a forged will. That's a felony. Patrick sank into Teresa's chair, ashen. The business was failing. I was going to lose everything. I know, Sarah said quietly. I saw the emails. I know you're in debt. I know Amanda's gambling destroyed her finances. I know you were desperate. Patrick looked up with something like hope. Then you understand. There's always a choice, Sarah said. You could have asked Teresa for help honestly. She might have helped you. She would have lectured us, Amanda said bitterly, made us feel like failures. Maybe, but she also would have helped. She left you money in her real will. Not as much as you wanted, but enough. All you had to do was accept it gracefully. $25,000 doesn't solve anything, Patrick said. It's more than the nothing you'll get now, Bernard said. By challenging the will, you've forfeited your inheritance. Amanda collapsed, sobbing. I'm going to lose everything. You should have thought of that before committing fraud, Detective Santos said. I'm interviewing both of you separately. You have the right to an attorney. I strongly suggest you use it. She looked at Sarah. Mrs. Mitchell, this is your house. Do you want these people removed? Sarah looked at Patrick, her husband of 25 years, looking older and smaller than ever. At Amanda, mascara-streaked and shaking. At David in handcuffs. Then at Michael, standing tall, having chosen truth. Yes, she said. I want them to leave. You heard her. Pack essentials. 30 minutes. As Patrick headed upstairs, he paused beside Sarah. I'm sorry, he whispered. Sarah looked at the man she'd married. I know, but sorry doesn't fix what you broke. He nodded and continued upstairs. 2 days later, Amanda appeared at Sarah's door. She looked terrible. No makeup, unwashed hair, sweatpants. Can I come in? Please, I need to talk to you. Sarah considered slamming the door. 5 minutes. Amanda stood in the living room, arms wrapped around herself. I told Detective Santos everything about the plan, about David, about forging the will. Patrick's lawyer told him to stay quiet, but I couldn't. She laughed bitterly. I'm going to prison anyway. Might as well tell the truth. Why are you here? Because I need you to understand. I hated you for years. Do you know why? Amanda's voice cracked. Because my mother loved you more than she ever loved me. Sarah thought of Teresa's note. I was a bad mother. Growing up, Mom was so cold, Amanda continued. Never hugged me. Never said she was proud. She was efficient, practical, distant. I spent my life trying to be perfect enough to earn her love. Then you came along and suddenly I'd see Mom smiling at you, holding your hand, telling you stories, things she never did with me. Tears streamed down her face. The worse she got, the closer you two became. It killed me, watching my mother give you what she never gave me. So you decided to steal from me. I decided you didn't deserve everything when you weren't even blood family. I watched you get the mother I always wanted while I got nothing. When she was dying and we found out about the money, I thought, finally something that's rightfully mine. But it wasn't yours, Sarah said quietly. It was hers to give to whoever she chose. I know, Amanda deflated. Too late, but I know. She looked around. She changed in those last years with you. Became warmer, more like the mother I'd always wanted, but she only became that way for you. Sarah pulled an envelope from her pocket. She left you a note. I wasn't going to give it to you, but maybe you need it. Amanda read with shaking hands. Amanda, if you're reading this, you've done something to hurt Sarah. I was a bad mother to you, cold when you needed warmth, critical when you needed encouragement. That's on me. But my failure doesn't entitle you to hurt Sarah. She gave me what I never gave you, unconditional love. For that, she deserves protection, even from my own children. I'm leaving you money, not as much as you want, but enough to help. That's my last gift, a chance to start over, to be better than I raised you to be. I'm sorry I wasn't the mother you needed, but punishing Sarah won't fix what I broke in you. Try to be better. Mom. Amanda read it twice, tears falling. She knew what we were planning. She suspected. That's why she prepared. I destroyed everything. My career, my finances, my freedom. For what? To get revenge on you for being loved? Sarah had spent days hating Amanda, but watching her break, reading Teresa's note, she felt pity. The prosecutor's going to offer you a deal, 18 months if you testify against Patrick and David. Amanda nodded miserably. My lawyer says I should take it. Take it, Sarah said. Tell the truth. Do your time. Get help for the gambling. When you get out, try to be the person Teresa hoped you could be. You're not going to fight the deal? No. Teresa wanted you to have a chance to be better. I'm going to honor that. Thank you. Amanda stood. I know it doesn't mean anything, but I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sarah didn't say I forgive you. She wasn't there yet. Goodbye, Amanda, she said instead. After Amanda left, Sarah sat in Teresa's chair, looking out at the yard where they'd plant roses come spring. Truth was messy. Forgiveness was complicated. Justice wasn't clean. But at least now everyone knew the truth. 3 months after Teresa's funeral, Sarah walked into the county courthouse. The probate hearing would determine everything. Patrick sat at the defendant's table with his lawyer, Jennifer Patterson. He wouldn't look at Sarah. Amanda wasn't present, already serving her plea deal sentence. Judge Richard Morrison took the bench, silver-haired with sharp eyes. This court will determine the validity of Teresa Young's will, dated June 15th, he began. Ms. Patterson, you represent Patrick Young's challenge. Proceed. Jennifer Patterson stood. Your Honor, we believe Sarah Mitchell exerted undue influence over Mrs. Young. Mrs. Mitchell isolated Mrs. Young from her family, controlled all access, manipulated a vulnerable elderly woman into disinheriting her own children. Isolated? Bernard's voice was sharp. Miss Mitchell sent monthly emails to Patrick Young and Amanda Young Foster with medical updates. She called when Mrs. Young asked for them. They chose not to come. We have documentation of every attempted contact. Mrs. Young was on heavy medications, frequently confused. I've reviewed the medical records, Judge Morrison interrupted. Dr. Helen Morrison testified that Mrs. Young was mentally competent until her final 24 hours. The will was executed 8 months before death, when she was relatively healthy. Do you have expert testimony contradicting this? We have Mr. Young's observations as her son, Mr. Young, who visited his mother twice in 6 months before her death. The judge's eyebrow rose. While Mrs. Mitchell provided round-the-clock care for 10 years, Bernard stood. Your Honor, we'd like to present Mrs. Young's video testament. The lights dimmed. Teresa's face appeared on screen, alive, determined, clear-eyed. My son Patrick and daughter Amanda have not been present in my life for many years. They've made it clear that my care is a burden they won't shoulder. Her voice was steady. Sarah Mitchell has been my sole caregiver for 10 years. She's earned everything I'm leaving her. If my children choose to fight this will, they'll get nothing. That is my final word. Silence filled the courtroom when it ended. Judge Morrison leaned forward. Mr. Young, did you participate in creating a fraudulent will? Patrick's lawyer whispered urgently. Your Honor, my client. Yes or no, Mr. Young? Patrick's face crumbled. I was desperate. My business was failing. I thought I deserved something. So you forged your mother's will? I didn't think she was thinking clearly, Bernard interrupted. We have testimony from Michael Young, Mr. Young's own son, who witnessed his father and David Hartwell, a disbarred attorney, practicing Mrs. Young's signature. We have emails between Patrick and Amanda discussing their need for their mother's money. We have financial records showing severe debt. This wasn't desperation. It was premeditated fraud. Judge Morrison read through the evidence, expression darkening. Ms. Patterson, does your client wish to withdraw his challenge? Your Honor, If we could request a continuance. No, I'm ruling now. The judge's voice was final. The will, dated June 15th, is valid and will be executed as written. Under the no contest clause, Patrick Young has forfeited his inheritance of $25,000. He looked directly at Patrick. Your mother gave you a gift. You repaid her by trying to steal from the woman who cared for her. He banged his gavel. I'm referring this case to the district attorney for criminal investigation. Forging a will is fraud. This court is adjourned. Patrick stood on shaking legs. For a moment, his eyes met Sarah's. I'm sorry, he mouthed. Sarah looked at the man she'd married 25 years ago and felt only exhaustion. Too late, she said quietly. Outside, Michael was waiting. He hugged Sarah tightly. We won. Grandma won. Yes, Sarah said, looking up at the spring sky. She did. 6 months after Teresa's death, Sarah sat in criminal court. Patrick had taken a plea deal, 12 months in minimum security, 3 years probation. Amanda was already 2 months into her 18-month sentence. David Hartwell had received 2 years. Patrick stood before the judge for sentencing. Mr. Young, you've pleaded guilty to fraud. Do you have anything to say? Patrick's voice was hoarse. I want to apologize to Sarah, to my son, to my mother's memory. I was desperate and convinced myself I was justified. But I wasn't. Sarah earned what my mother gave her. She showed up every day for 10 years while I made excuses. He looked at Sarah. I loved my mother. I just forgot how to show it. Sarah never forgot. The judge imposed sentence. Patrick was led away. Michael gripped Sarah's hand. He's still my dad. I know, honey. You can love him and still know he was wrong. Those things can both be true. Outside, Detective Santos found them. It's over, Mrs. Mitchell. Justice served. Thank you, Detective. You fought back when most people wouldn't. Your mother-in-law would be proud. Sarah used $200,000 of her inheritance to establish Teresa's care network. The nonprofit provided financial assistance for medical supplies, legal help for caregivers facing family disputes, respite care, and weekly support groups. The living room of the house on Maple Street became the meeting space. 8 caregivers attended the first session. My sister asked why I don't just put Mom in a home, one woman said. Like wanting to care for her myself is a character flaw. People who haven't done it don't understand, another replied. They think it's just helping someone eat. They don't realize it's grief and love and exhaustion tangled together. Sarah listened, offered tissues, shared wisdom from 10 years of experience. After meetings, she updated records. Within 6 months, they'd helped 47 families across 3 counties, distributed $18,000 in assistance, provided 400 hours of respite care. Michael quit his job and joined full-time, donating half his trust fund to support the organization. This is what Grandma wanted, to make her life mean something beyond just ending. Dr. Helen Morrison volunteered as medical advisor. Bernard Winters provided pro bono legal services. Detective Santos stopped by occasionally to discuss elder abuse prevention. One evening, Amanda appeared at the door, released early for good behavior and completing addiction treatment. I can't undo what I did, she said, holding out an envelope, but I wanted to contribute. $500. It's all I have right now. Sarah took it. Thank you. Mom's letter said I should try to be better. I'm trying. Amanda looked healthier, clearer, more genuine than she had in years. I can see that, Sarah said. Keep trying. That's all any of us can do. After Amanda left, Michael asked, will you ever forgive them? Sarah thought about it. Maybe someday. Forgiveness isn't something that happens all at once. It's something you work towards step by step. They made terrible choices, but they're trying to be better. That counts for something. 1 year after Teresa's death, Sarah and Michael stood in the backyard with shovels and rose bushes. February 14th again. Cold rain, but this time, Sarah wasn't at a grave feeling lost. She was home, building something. They planted roses where Teresa used to sit in her wheelchair. Pink roses, her favorite. She knew what they were planning, Michael said, hands deep in soil. She prepared everything to protect you. She gave me more than a house and money, Sarah said. She gave me permission, permission to stop shrinking, to take up space, to know my worth. Dr. Morrison arrived with a casserole. Bernard brought wine to celebrate the nonprofit's one-year anniversary. Detective Santos planted one rose bush from one fighter to another. As evening fell and guests mingled inside, Sarah stood alone in the garden. She pulled out the final letter she'd found that morning, tucked in Teresa's favorite cardigan in the back of the closet. Dear Sarah, if you're reading this, you won. You're home. You're safe. I'm giving you permission. Permission to stop sacrificing. Permission to stop shrinking. Permission to take up space and demand respect and know your worth. You've been the architect of everyone else's comfort for too long. Now build something for yourself. I was a nurse once. Did I ever tell you? Probably not. I gave it up when I married. My husband wanted a traditional wife. My children needed a present mother. Year by year, I forgot I'd been anything else. Don't make my mistake. Use the house. Use the money. Build something that helps other caregivers the way I wish someone had helped you. Make my death mean something more than just an ending. You taught me what love actually looks like. Not performance, not duty, but presence. Now teach others. With all my love and gratitude, Teresa, P.S. Plant roses where I used to sit. When they bloom, know that I'm cheering for you. Sarah folded the letter carefully and looked at the bare branches waiting for spring. In a few months, they'd bloom, pink and full and beautiful, a living reminder of what they'd built together. Inside, through the window, she could see Michael laughing with Dr. Morrison, Bernard pouring wine, people who'd become family not through blood but through showing up. This was what Teresa had wanted, not just justice, but transformation. Not just punishment for those who'd wronged her, but opportunity for those who'd loved her to build something that mattered. Sarah Mitchell stood in her living room at 8 p.m. on a Wednesday, surrounded by 12 caregivers attending the weekly support group. The group had grown. They now met twice weekly to accommodate everyone. After everyone left, she updated records. 68 families served, $23,000 in assistance distributed, 600 hours of respite care provided, 3 successful legal interventions preventing elder abuse. Michael arrived after work, loosening his tie. How'd it go? Good. 3 new families requesting help next month. We're going to need more funding. I've been working on grant applications, and the fundraiser next month should bring in at least $50,000. He pulled out his laptop. Also, I have news. Rebecca and I are engaged. Sarah's face lit up. Michael, that's wonderful. I want you to know she's met Dad. He's been out 3 months now, working construction, going to therapy. He's really trying, Mom. And Rebecca thinks, well, we'd like him at the wedding, if you're okay with that. Sarah was quiet for a moment. 3 months ago, the answer would have been no. But she'd been working on forgiveness, not for Patrick, for herself, because holding on to anger was exhausting, and she had better things to do with her energy. It's your wedding, she said. If you want him there, he should be there. I can handle it. You sure? I'm sure. And she was. Patrick's presence wouldn't diminish her. Nothing could diminish what she'd built. The doorbell rang. Sarah opened it to find Patrick standing there. He looked different, thinner, rougher, humbled by 9 months in prison and 3 months rebuilding his life. Michael texted, said it was okay to come by. He held up a folder. I've been helping with grant applications, like you suggested, just administrative work, nothing fancy. But I wanted to drop these off. Sarah took the folder. Thank you. I also wanted to tell you, I paid Michael back, the $10,000 plus interest, and I'm paying you back too, for all those medications you paid for. It'll take time, but I have a payment plan. He pulled out a check. First installment, $300. I know it's not much. It's a start, Sarah said, taking the check. She looked at her ex-husband. They divorced while he was in prison, papers signed without drama or bitterness, just an acknowledgement that their marriage had died long before the forgery. Are you really changed, Patrick? Or are you just sorry you got caught? I'm sorry I did it in the first place, Patrick said. Prison gave me a lot of time to think about Mom, about how I took you for granted, about what kind of man I wanted to be versus what kind I'd become. He paused. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. But I want you to know I see what you did for my mother. I see what you're doing now. And I'm trying to be someone who deserves to be in Michael's life, in my future grandchildren's lives. Sarah studied him. He looked sincere. Whether he'd stay that way, only time would tell. Keep trying, she said. Keep showing up. Keep being honest. That's all any of us can do. After Patrick left, Sarah walked to the window and looked at her garden. The roses Teresa had asked for, now in full bloom, pink and full and perfect, growing exactly where she used to sit. Sarah wasn't the woman who'd walked into that funeral 18 months ago. Wasn't the woman who'd accepted $5,000 and 48 hours without fighting back. Wasn't the woman who'd shrunk herself to fit everyone else's needs. She was Sarah Mitchell, 63 years old, owner of a house with a rose garden, director of a nonprofit that had helped 68 families and was growing every month. Mother to a son who'd learned what it meant to choose truth over comfort. Ex-wife to a man trying to earn redemption. Friend to people who'd shown up when it mattered. And she was the woman Teresa Young had loved enough to fight for, even from beyond the grave. That was worth more than any house or money or will. But it was nice to have the house, nice to have the resources to help others, nice to wake up every morning knowing she was exactly where she was supposed to be, doing exactly what she was meant to do. The roses would bloom again next spring and the spring after that. Long after everyone was gone, they'd keep growing, keep blooming, keep proving that love, real love, was about presence, about showing up, about fighting for people who couldn't fight for themselves. Teresa had taught her that, and Sarah would spend the rest of her life teaching others. She turned from the window and went to help Michael prepare for the evening's planning meeting. There was work to do, families to help, lives to change, and she couldn't wait to get started.